Hello and welcome everybody. I am Sam Morga, Chief Executive and Company Secretary of the Third Age Trust. I'll be taking you through the introduction to the event before passing over to Ian McCannah, Chair of the Board of Trustees, who will be chairing our extraordinary general meeting today. Today, U3As are joining us remotely from all over the United Kingdom to hear and contribute to the debate and vote on the business of the day. All of us, every member, every U3A committee member, every volunteer for the Trust, every staff member and the Board of Trustees, stand together in working to keep the U3A movement and the U3A community strong and vibrant and ready to face the challenges of the future. We have taken steps to make this meeting accessible to as many members as possible, while respecting the government's guidelines on social distancing and public gatherings. I'm pleased to extend a warm welcome to all of you who are participating online through our secure virtual meeting platform supplied by Lumi Global. First, I would like to take a few moments to explain the voting procedure that we will use today. We are all attending online, so to exercise your vote at the appropriate time, you will need to use the voting icon that will appear on the navigation bar. Once you click on this, the resolution will appear on your screen, along with the for, against, and abstain voting options. When you are ready to vote on the resolution, simply select one of these options to cast your vote. If you change your mind, simply select another option. You can change your vote as many times as you wish, up until the close of the poll. Your vote will have been submitted when the voting option icon changes colour, having selected it, and a vote received message appears. There is no final submit button as the voting is live. We will give you a clear prompt to warn of the close in voting for the resolution. Voting delegates will be able to submit questions or comments during item 1 on the agenda via the messaging icon located in the navigation bar at the bottom of your screen if viewing from a phone, or the top of your screen if viewing from a laptop. Type your message into the box and click the arrow button to the right-hand side of the message box. Lumi Global will make any incoming comments visible on the screen to the Chair and the Company Secretary. These will not be visible to online attendees. The Chair of the meeting will read or summarise the points and either answer questions if relevant or pass them over to the Company Secretary. According to our attendance report, we have a quorum of 551 U3As taking part, and so I have pleasure in declaring the meeting open. I will take you through the remaining voting statistics. There are 222 U3As with voting delegates registered for the EGM. 278 voting delegates hold 533 votes at the EGM. This is 21% of total U3As carrying 25% of the possible votes. Next, the proxy statistics. 329 U3As are proxying 721 votes to the Company Secretary. No U3As are proxying any votes to other U3As. This totals 551 U3As with 1,255 votes engaging with the vote process. 52% of U3As carrying 58% of the available votes. The minutes will declare the total votes available and those actually cast, and will be broken down by region or nation. I will now hand over to Ian McCannah, Chair of the Third Age Trust, to take us through the agenda.
Thank you, Sam. Hello everybody and welcome to our EGM. Without further delay, I will move to item 1 on the agenda to debate and vote upon Special Resolution 1 as detailed on the slide and in the notice of this meeting and agenda. The clauses on how the Trust holds its annual general meetings are set out in its Articles of Association. At present, they do not provide for electronic participation or voting. The Trust's virtual AGM in September resulted from the Corporate Insolvency and Governance Act, which allowed companies to hold virtual AGMs even where their articles did not normally allow it. As this was emergency legislation to deal with the coronavirus pandemic, it was time limited, originally to the 30th of September 2020. It has now been extended to the 30th of December 2020. Obviously, it is impossible to predict where the world will be next August when the 2021 AGM is scheduled. Furthermore, even if large meetings are possible, there may well be a reluctance by U3A members to travel and attend a large meeting. Nearly twice as many members attended the recent virtual AGM than previous physical ones, thereby significantly increasing the ability of members to participate. The evidence is that many members prefer to attend an AGM virtually, even when it is possible to attend a physical one. Against this background, the board is recommending that the Trust articles be amended so that members can attend and vote electronically at future AGMs. This does not mean that the Trust is committed to any specific format in the future. It would be possible to have a hybrid event with members in a hall and others online, a totally virtually or a totally physical meeting. Nor does it commit the Trust to using the same technology as employed in its recent AGM and this AGM. Simply put, the Trust's aim is to have the legal means to hold an AGM where members can participate electronically if they wish. In order to change the Trust articles, it is necessary to hold this EGM with 75% of the votes cast in a quorum meeting in favour of the special resolution. If any voting delegates would like to make a comment or ask a question, please do so via the messaging icon located in the navigation bar at the bottom of your screen, if viewing from a phone, or at the top of your screen, if viewing from your laptop. Type your message into the box and click the arrow button to the right-hand side of the message box. We will just take a minute's break to make sure we have gathered all your questions. Then Sam, the CEO, and I will read out comments and try to answer any questions.
Thank you. So we'll now go through the questions and comments made in the break. The first one is from Sue Watkinson. What factors will be taken into consideration when deciding what type of meeting will be held in the future? Ian, would you like to answer that question?
Yes, thank you very much, Sam, and thank you, Sue, for the question. Yes, well, we've tried to give ourselves a maximum flexibility here. So the factors that we would consider, I guess, early in the new year, because planning for an AGM in August takes a long time. So we will have to consider where we are with the pandemic. We'll have to consider whether our members will be willing to attend a physical meeting or not. And I think that it's true to say that from the comments I made earlier that the AGM in September was a big success. The Trust is very, very keen to see transparency and democracy within the movement. And so I'm pretty sure that there will be an online facility for members to join an AGM, even if it's decided to have a physical one. But as I say, I don't think we can make any decisions yet about where we will be in August. I think there's a lot of water to go under the bridge before we can come to that decision. I don't know, Sam, if you want to add anything to that.
No, I think that's very fully answered, and I think that's exactly where we are. And in fact, David Martin agrees on that point. He says that increased flexibility makes great sense. Moving on to Jean Sinclair, he says, should U3As change their constitutions to also cover this? And Jean, we're sending out information today and also later on next week to explain how you can do that. You're not in the same situation as the Trust because the Trust is a charity and company limited by guarantee. And so therefore, we had to comply with the legislation that Ian referred to earlier. You charities and therefore covered by the Charity Commission, who's given a wide dispensation for the moment. But what we have done is sent you out wording that allows U3As to change their constitutions at their AGMs or EGMs so that they have the same powers to meet electronically written into their constitutions in the future. So the next question from Derek Shotin is the time limited legislation likely to be extended further into 2021? And I think both Ian and I would say, unfortunately, we have no idea about that. The legislation, as Ian said, was originally until September. They then decided they were going to extend it to December. We haven't seen or heard anything to say there's going to be a future extension. But that's not to say they may not be. We're not aware of any plans at this moment in time. Moving on, the next comment is from Carmel Burton. This is an excellent and progressive idea, giving many more U3As the opportunity to participate. And finally, a comment from Isabel Miller. I think it's a good idea to be able to participate electronically, not only because of reluctance to travel, but also the cost of travelling to a venue and possibly having to stay overnight. Next question, I'll pass over to you, Ian, from Michael Hill. If adopted, should we also amend our local constitutions accordingly?
Well, I think that's one that you've just answered, Sam. Perhaps you just repeat what you said about the Charity Commission versus.
Yes, certainly, yes. So Michael, as a charity, you're covered by the Charity Commission, and the Charity Commission has given a wide dispensation at the moment. We don't know how long that will last, but it's still current at the moment. We have sent you out to all U3As information about wording you can use to change your constitutions at an AGM or EGM to allow electronic participation. Some of that is going out today, and there'll be further information out in the next week or so. Thank you. So there appears to be more questions or comments, Ian.
Fine. Thank you very much, Sam. Well, thank you to all of you attending this morning for those contributions. So we can now move to the vote. I now open the poll for you to cast your votes on item 1 on the agenda. The slide reminds you how to cast your vote or votes. I will keep the vote open for a few minutes. We will now take a couple of minutes to confirm the result, and then I will inform you of the result. So a couple of minutes break, everybody. Thank you. Welcome back, everybody. So I can now announce the results of the Special Resolution 1, which was to amend the Articles of Association of the Third Age Trust as detailed in the EGM agenda and notice to allow electronic participation or voting in general meetings. You can see the votes here. Votes for 1,112, against 2, and 3 abstentions. So a very big thank you to the membership for voting so positively for this resolution, and it's obviously has met a lot of favour with the membership, and we thank you very much for that. So I'm now thank you to all of you for attending, and I now declare the EGM closed. However, I'm just going to, for those of you who wish to stay, I'm going to just make a short presentation about where the movement may be post-lockdown and what the impact on the movement is of the pandemic. Now, at the end of the presentation, Sam and I will answer any of your questions. I'm sure you've got used to the means by which you can post questions. The message book is now open, I'm told, for you to table them. And so please put any questions that you wish to ask of either of us into that message box. So the U3A movement post-lockdown. During the summer, I asked members for comments on where the movement was and will be post-lockdown. The responses were thoughtful, wide-ranging, and to the point. Just what I would have expected from a movement that has so much depth of experience and knowledge. The report that resulted from these comments was sent in the autumn to all U3As and is available on the national website. So where did the members see the movement in the summer? In starting to plan for life after COVID, those sending their thoughts to me in the summer felt that their members were less likely to have been concerned at the prospect of lockdown than the population in general, and were more likely to respect social distancing guidelines. They had appreciated hearing from proactive U3As about lockdown activities, but they did not expect life to return to normal until there is a vaccine. They're more likely to be concerned for their well-being than is evident in the wider population. So where do the members see the movement now? Members have differing opinions about when is the right time to end lockdown and are unsure about when to rejoin U3A activities. However, April and May are increasingly talked about as a possibility. Members will wait for government advice before ending lockdown, and many will wait until a vaccine is available. All will wait until the Trust advises that group activities are covered by its public liability insurance policy. Members may return to outdoor activities earlier, where there is more opportunity to maintain social distancing, but they will be more selective about indoor activities while social distancing remains in place. So how is the movement reacting to COVID? Many U3As have adapted to unforeseen circumstances of an unprecedented magnitude, with online monthly meetings and interest groups, but others have not and have effectively shut down their activities. Many U3As are making substantial efforts to keep active and remain open during lockdown. Fascinating initiatives have been illustrated in Third Age Matters, the monthly national newsletter, U3A Facebook pages, and other communication channels. Technology has been vital in keeping members in touch during lockdown, but it cannot fully replace the social interaction, which is central to all U3A activities. As lockdown measures ease, and with a vaccine being rolled out, the new year could be the time for committees to start planning for the new normal, to retain existing members and to attract new ones. So what are the issues that the movement needs to consider? 2019 membership survey showed that the movement is aging. The average age has increased from 72 in 2009 to 74 in 2019. There are now fewer members in their 60s than in the past. Members are getting older and are at greater risk of the pandemic. Will the organisation lose a disproportionate number of its older members? If so, in order to regenerate itself, youth rates will need to become more attractive to the recently retired. However, whilst youth rates are catering for a new demographic, they will still need to remain attractive to their older members. Technology is being used, but interest groups are using video conferencing to find creative ways around lockdown and social distancing. Some are resorting to email correspondence, while others are pausing activity until their group starts again. Technology could open up youth activity in the evenings or at weekends, something that hasn't really been possible in the past. Resorting to Zoom, however, raises the issue of the digital divide that could exist within a U3A and result in increased sense of isolation for some members. Addressing this technological deficit could add immeasurably to the life skills and enhanced participation of many older members who risk becoming isolated and left behind in a world increasingly available only online. Some youth rates have formed a technical committee to try to address issues surrounding how their youth rates will use technology in the future to benefit all their members. If the movement is to keep its relevance and vitality for members, current and future, the principle of lifelong learning needs to be promoted as the aim of the organisation. Acceptance of this principle implies encouraging the uptake of new technologies, such as video conferencing, virtual meetings, online forums, etc., as a natural evolution of the movement. Loneliness and isolation and its effect on third ages were high on the Trust's agenda before the pandemic. There may never have been a time when becoming older and more vulnerable has so much attention in the public consciousness, thereby providing an opportunity for U3As to raise the movement's local profile and for the Trust to raise its national one. So some ideas from the future. All these come from the members. They're part of their response to me, as I said last summer. U3A should consider a relaunch plan to recruit new members because they will be their future lifeblood. If there is a surge in full-time and partial unemployment in the late 50s and 60s age groups because of the economic shocks of the pandemic, there could be a significant pool of potential new members over and above the number in more normal times. In fact, now some U3As are forming a recruitment subcommittee and planning for the future post-lockdown. U3As are encouraging membership in a variety of ways, renewing at a reduced rate, postponing renewal for, say, 3 months, renewing as normal but for a 15-month period, and offering new members the first year at a discounted rate. Advertising and promoting U3As within their wider community will become an essential aspect of relaunching a new U3A. So U3As have suggested that they will be publicising their U3A in GP surgeries, pharmacists, neighbourhood magazines, supermarket notice boards, religious bodies, local shops, libraries, street stalls, even trying to get empty shop space free of charge from the council to advertise their wares. Others are providing taster sessions or planning to offer taster sessions to new members. The others are considering using social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, etc., to reach out to younger potential members. Many U3A now has a Facebook page or promotes itself on a neighbourhood blog. And one of the interesting situations that I encountered before lockdown was that the new 3As that were being formed across the UK, say in 2019, some of them were solely promoted in their local community through social media, which is an interesting comment on the new generation coming through and the way they view promoting U3A. So what can the Trust do to assist this process? Well, it can continue to put the Trust's regular workshops online, in addition providing training materials, tips and suggestions, case studies, videos, bite-sized workshops, more advice on marketing and communications. And at the moment, each region is starting to recruit from within the membership PR advisors in order to assist U3As to promote their message in their local community. The Trust can continue to collect and will collate and share with the movement the U3A's successful and innovative lockdown experiences. Trust will further develop the Trust's Facebook page, Keeping in Touch, which has been a big success since lockdown. Previously, there had been little member-to-member contact across the UK to have a national U3A conversation, and Facebook has allowed that. Trust will continue to provide members with member-driven online educational material, such as guest lectures, learning courses, competitions, etc. And you will see a continuation of ideas such as the very popular COVID diary this year. And there will also be Pathfinder and toolkits, which will provide U3As with information on how to relaunch their U3As post-lockdown. And one other high-profile project from a national level is the High Street project. It's quite amazing that more than 50% of all U3As, that's over 500 U3As across the UK, have signed up for the High Street project to analyse and research the changing face of the high streets. And of course, this was never more in the public eye than it is in the moment. And the U3A movement nationally could receive a lot of publicity from the detailed research that's being conducted at a local level into the high streets. So, just in conclusion, this, as I mentioned before, this presentation is based on members' views on the future this summer. If any of you today, and I will publicise this in other channels, if you wish to provide me with your current views as to where we will be come the end of lockdown, please send me your comments. ian.mccannah@u3a.org.uk. Not all members will agree with the ideas suggested in this presentation. This is not to be expected, given the wide range of experiences within the movement. Hopefully, however, some will find favour and assist committees and members to plan for how their U3A approaches post-lockdown with a positive message to their membership and their wider community. In the final analysis, it will be for individual U3As to decide on the best approach post-lockdown, but I hope that this paper has provided some useful advice. The staff and resources of U3A office are available to support and advise U3As if they wish to develop any of these suggestions further. If you wish to access these resources and the full report, please contact info@u3a.org.uk. I'm sure that a united endeavour between U3As and the Trust will ensure that the movement emerges from lockdown with plans to face an uncertain future with increased confidence. So thank you very much for listening to that presentation. Sam and I will now answer your questions. I don't know, Sam, if you have any questions yet?
Yes, we have. So I'll start with the first question from Paul Scott. Paul has said, the U3A has twice as many members as the WI, but we have a virtually invisible media presence. What are the National Office doing to improve the media presence, and how is National Office proposing to get the help of local U3As gain media presence? So I'll start off, Ian, if that's all right, and I'll pass.
That's absolutely fine. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Paul, Without a doubt, we face a challenge in making ourselves visible within the media. We have had some success this year on various pieces, including the last piece, which was around the great example of U3A as being a positive example of ageing, set against some of the ageist perceptions that are in the media and in the in minds of various policymakers. And we got a lot of media traction for that, and that was very welcome. Local U3As also have various stories which they send in to us, which is also great. However, one of the things we want to do is build on the strengths of the movement to extend that media presence. And so one of the ways we're doing that at the moment is by working with a newly recruited team of PR advisors who are spread across the movement and will be working in the regions and nations. And they will link with the region and networks, E3As, to develop the spread and reach of our presence and hopefully enable us to get a wider media profile, both locally, regionally and nationally, because I think it is important that we have a local, regional and national focus. So what we're doing is our best with the resources we have. We have Liz Drury, who many of you will have met, who is the head of policy and communications, and she is assisted by one other person within the trust team. And then we have the volunteer team, PR advisors, and we have a committee who also focus on communications and external affairs. So we do have a programme in sight to develop that reach in the media, which we all see as being very important. Ian, do you want to add anything to that?
No, I think you've covered that very well, Sam. Thank you very much. It's always a challenge for, as I often say when I meet with members at with network meetings, etc. We have a very low profile with the national media. I think we're a good news story, and we just need to try and raise that profile in the way that Sam has mentioned.
Thank you. So the next question is from Carmel Sefton. Would the Trust please provide further reasonably priced examples of how to run an AGM electronically, which will allow voting? Also, further workshop dates, please, virtual AGMs. So thank you for that, Carmel. We'll certainly have various examples about how to run AGMs online, and we'll certainly look into any other options as regarding recording voting and circulate those as we become aware of them. And there will indeed be further workshops around virtual AGMs. So thank you very much for that question. Next question is from Linda Bolton. For further virtual meetings, could you be more specific about the amount of time there will be with total silence? This is not very U3A friendly. So if it's all right with you, Ian, I'll start that. Shall I then pass to you?
Yes, please.
Yeah. So Linda, absolutely. The U3A is all about talking with each other, and we are learning through these virtual AGMs and EGMs. It's a learning experience for us as much as it is for you, and we hope to make each further example of an AGM or EGM, any meeting of this nature, as U3A friendly as we can. And we're learning about the amount of time it takes to gather information behind the scenes. So what we'd ask is please bear with us. We're in exactly the same place as you are, and we're going to do our level best to make each one following this one even better than the last. Ian, I don't know if there's anything you want to add to that.
No, it's a learning curve for all of us.
Yeah. Thank you. Philip Waterton, how do we know the age of our membership? Our U3A doesn't ask for this when members join. Do you want to start this, Ian, and then I'll come in?
Yeah. Okay. So members may not know this. It has had some publicity, but in 1999, in 2009, a very detailed membership survey was conducted on a very, very sophisticated statistical basis. It was drawn up by members, and it was decided in 2019 to continue this 10-year survey of members. So it was conducted last year, in the first half of last year, I think it was. And I won't go in, I can't explain all the statistical background, but rest assured it was done with very high level statistical accuracy. And it asked members across the UK for various aspects of information about themselves, about their educational background, and including age and their involvement in U3A and committee work, interest groups, etc. It's a very detailed survey, the results of which aren't available. Fran can tell me if they're on the website. They're possibly not, but they are available from myself, ian.mccannah@u3a.org.uk. So we had a very, very detailed response to these questions from members, including age. So we've been able to monitor the change in age groups over the last 20 years. I don't know if you wish to add anything to that, Sam.
No, I think that's a very full question. It's been very helpful to us in terms of planning. Next question is from Robin Neve. Why has it not been possible to have evening or weekend activities in the past? Surely in order to attract new, younger members who may still have to work part-time, this is a sensible option. Thank you, Robin. Well, certainly, obviously, local U3As have decide themselves whether they want to open at the evening and weekends. And indeed, some may decide that's exactly what they want to do going forward. And one of the areas the Trust is also looking at is that very same question. So how do we ensure that we begin to extend our reach to both newer, younger members and the existing members who may be working part-time? Ian, is there anything you want to add to that?
Well, just to say that the answer to this question is very much in the hands of individual U3As. It's not a trust consideration. Each U3A committee is an independent charity with its elected committee, and they create the image and the culture of their particular U3A. And so there's been nothing in the past to stop any U3A to have, and some do have weekend activities. The ones that I'm involved with, they have ones at the weekend for single people who can come together and go on visits, etc. in normal times. So there's nothing to stop this. And also, I know that there are evening Scrabble groups, but it really does reside with the individual U3A. Having said that, I do think that most definitely all the information we have from these surveys is that U3As have grown every year ever since in the last 40 years, and it's been through word of mouth. Now, I don't think that we can rely on word of mouth in the future. I think we need to go out into the community, and I think that certainly opening up U3 activity in the evenings, at the weekends, may well happen. In addition, the increased use of technology does allow this, I think, possibly to happen, particularly in the evenings in the winter. Some groups may choose that, decide to operate in the evenings in the winter, whereas they would have been reluctant to go out in the cold winter nights.
Thank you, Ian. Next question is from Paul Scott. And Paul says, surely as technology becomes more prevalent in life, it becomes more and more important to ensure that U3As still meet face-to-face, as loneliness in old age is increasing. A very important point. Ian, do you want to start that question?
No, Sam, you've led very effectively this campaign on loneliness, so I'll hand it over to you.
Okay. So without doubt, we absolutely agree that the heart of U3A is face-to-face. It's face-to-face meetings, meeting together to do interesting things and to form social connections and communities in every town and place across the United Kingdom. And this is very, very important indeed. How we see technology is as a complement to that. So where people are not able to participate face-to-face, even when we come out of the pandemic, because they may be have caring responsibilities, because they may live somewhere that's very remote, or because it's become difficult for them to get out for health reasons, then actually having the ability to use technology to join in youth activities is important, because that does ensure that once they're a member of the community of U3As, they stay a member of the community of U3As. But certainly technology does not replace what U3A is all about, because the importance of knowing that you can see people face to face and having that sense of community is extremely important. And one of the pieces that came out of the research we did a year or so ago, Learning Not Lonely, was one of the great benefits of the U3A was that feeling of community, was that feeling of meeting together and knowing that you had people around you who really enjoyed spending that time with you. And it was you that was important in that. So certainly technology doesn't replace face-to-face. It's a helpful addition, and certainly one that we've made good use of, all of us, the U3As and the Trust, during the pandemic. But it isn't the only answer. Do you want to add anything, Ian?
No, that's fine. Thank you, Sam.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any plans to advertise the U3A nationally and encourage people to join or rejoin the U3A once the pandemic is over? So, Ian, do you want to start that off with relaunch?
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you very much. Well, if we're talking about adverts in the national media or commercial television, etc., I can say no, the answer to that is no, for the very simple reason that we don't have the financial resources to do that. If we're talking about trying to create a coalition of common interest amongst institutions, particularly charities, that have the same objectives as the Trust does and the U3A movement, then certainly we are trying to raise our profile by trying to be a lead, really, in getting some of these organisations to come together and to meet together to see how we can address some of the negative perceptions relating to the third age. And some may want to say something about this in a moment. The other thing I would say is that in my when I first came onto the board, there was an attempt to try and promote the U3A from the Trust nationally by sending out leaflets really to everybody, doctors, surgeries, local councils, MPs, unions, etc., big companies. And there was a bit of a resistance back from the movement on that, because they felt that it was their responsibility to promote their U3A in their local community, because they knew the exact circumstances of their U3A in terms of their capacity, etc., etc., etc. So I think that, coming back to the point, I think that the best, although the Trust can do its very best to promote the movement nationally, and Liz does an excellent job in contacting media representatives, there's a very big onus on U3As themselves to actually promote themselves in their local community. They know the best points to go to raise their own profile. But Sam, I think you may want to add something to that.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the ways that we are advertising U3As nationally is, as Ian said, working with other organisations and using their communication, magazines or newsletters, to get the message out about U3As. There are various charities, for example, Independent Age is a charity that has a supporter magazine, and they've agreed to carry an article about what the U3A does. and there are various other organisations of that nature that we're working with at the moment. So they give us free space in their magazines to write about everything the U3A does, and that enables us to get our message out to through organisations to many people across the United Kingdom. So we're taking as many of those opportunities as we can, because those magazines often have a good response level because they go to a specific group of people who generally will read them, and will therefore the U3A will come to the notice of those readerships. We're also looking at whether or not we can contribute to any other blogs on charities' sites. So, for example, we know that there is information about the U3A on the Age UK site, for example. So we'll continue to extend our reach in that way too. So whilst, as Ian says, we don't have huge amounts of funds available to actually advertise in any kind of national press or periodical, what we are doing is using any partnership we make, any opportunity to write on websites or blogs, and indeed social media, to get our message out to as many people as we possibly can. Ian, the next question is from June Weston, and hers is a nice straightforward question. It says, will Ian's presentation be available after this event?
I'm in your hands, Sam, on that.
So yes, June, it will be available after the event, and we will work with Liz. I suspect we'll probably go out in the newsletter, and if anybody is not signed up to the newsletter, please do sign up to the newsletter. You can do that through the website, and Ian's presentation will be available through that. The next question, Ian, is for you. What is the Slow Ways project?
A very good spot, Carmel. I was hoping that I could have said a bit more about this today. Obviously, these slides went out a while ago, and I wasn't able to say something in the presentation, but I will give you an update now. I don't know how many people have followed this, but there is a very inspirational gentleman called Dan, who has this vision to map all the footpaths across the whole UK, between villages and cities, and villages and villages, and hamlets and hamlets. And he's looking for 10,000 volunteers to actually map all the footpaths across the UK. And I've been in touch with him. I was hoping that I might have a bit more to say on this now, but it's not quite there yet. But the idea between us, this is an initiative by this individual. You can Google it if you want to see more about it. But the idea would be, I would think that we have within the movement at least about 2,000, 1,500 to 2,000 walking groups, and this would be an opportunity for the trust to advise the movement that this was there's an opportunity for them to link up with Dan and his organisation to volunteer their services to map the footpaths in their area and contribute to this national mapping. But we need to do a bit more work with him on how this is going to be advised to members. So I'm hopeful in the new year that we will have completed that process, and that when we get to the spring and lockdown is a matter of historical record and walking groups are active again, that they may well wish to be part of this big project. And certainly I think it would do a lot to raise the profile of the movement nationally in a way that we often struggle to do. Thank
you, Ian. Next question is from John Waddington. Hello, John. What can the trust do to assist U3As? So John says, increasing the trust compliance instructions are a deterrent to attracting new committee members, and the trust code risk assessment requirements for group activities, though understandable, are received by group conveners as burdensome red tape. Can they be relaxed going into 2021? Well, I have to say that certainly myself and my colleagues in the trust spend a huge amount of time working our way through the latest government advice around what it's possible to do and not do. And we are as keen as you to get back to some form of normality as quickly as possible. So we will be constantly reviewing them. And the thing I have to say is the government advice changes frequently. It doesn't just change when there is an official announcement in the media, on the television and radio and so on. The actual papers themselves, the advice themselves, change in between those announcements as different views and perceptions are made with those people that are responsible for setting those government papers. However, we are as keen as you to ensure there is as much ability as possible to get back to some kind of life as we knew it before the pandemic. And so we will carry on reviewing all of those guidelines, and we will do our level best to make them as straightforward as possible to U3As. What I would say is thank you to all of you U3As, all of you who've asked questions, all of you that's made suggestions, all of you that shared ways about how you're managing to keep within the regulations. We really appreciate all of your feedback, and please keep it coming. And we will continue to review that guidance in 2021. So thank you for that question, John, and we absolutely understand the sentiment behind that. Did you want to say anything, Ian?
No, that's fine, Sam. I don't think that all I'd say is I don't think the membership fully appreciates, nor should, no reason why they should, but this has been a very, very challenging area for Sam in particular to cover, given, as she says, the very frequent changings in the advice and the fact that this is advice from 4 nations, not just one nation. It relates to the England and the 4 devolved nations. So it's a very, very complex area, which has been quite challenging.
Yeah, absolutely, yes, and that's a really important point. That it is really important that we ensure that the advice for Scotland, Northern Ireland, Wales, and England is all accurately reflected, and that is a very important point. And again, the feedback from the members across those 4 nations has been great, and we really do appreciate it. The next question is from Annette Weaver. Any chance that the Pathfinder poster choices can be reviewed to include examples of younger members, couples and groups? So Annette, I would say certainly Liz Drury will be listening to this, and I'm sure she'll take that feedback, and we'll do our absolute best to provide some great examples of U3A members in those categories. I'm going to move on to the next question, which is from Arthur Coulson. Arthur says, how do we encourage lapsed members to rejoin? Do you want to start that in?
Yes, well, if you go back to the situation pre-lockdown, then some U3As, when they had their membership renewals, they saw that a number of, normally about 10 to 15% of members do not rejoin for all sorts of reasons in normal circumstances. And certainly some committees, the very proactive ones, have been concerned about that and have actually contacted those members that haven't renewed to find out why they haven't renewed, conduct a little survey and to find out the reasons. And in some cases, it makes some comments that may be negative to that U3A, but they can then take measures to correct that particular situation. And I think the same applies even more now in this situation. There certainly will be a number of members not rejoining because the activities that they joined for are inactive at the moment for no no reason of the actual U3A, just through circumstances. So I think that it's a combination of two things. One, to contact those members, somebody on the committee or a number of members on the committee, contact them, find out what their reasons are. And of course, the other one is to do everything possible, and a lot of U3As are doing this, to keep in touch during these difficult times with their members through whatever medium they can, to really re-emphasize that the U3A is still operating, still there for them, and still offers a wonderful opportunity for them to participate in when lockdown's over.
Thanks, that's great. Yes, absolutely. I think it is. I think U3As have been great in reaching out to those members that are not joining in at the moment, to find out why, and sometimes it might be because that member hasn't realised that the U3A still has activity going on, and sometimes it's that member may need a bit of support because they are not used to joining things remotely. And some U3As have been great. They've put newsletters through doors and set up telephone schemes and all sorts of things. So, but it is really important for all of us to remember those members who have found it difficult to join U3A activities during this time. The next comment is from David Ashton. David says, just to offer thanks for all the work, information, etc. that U3As are receiving from National Office. It is appreciated, even if we do not say it to you all often enough. Thank you, David. We really appreciate that. It's lovely to hear. Thank you very much indeed. Ian Robinson says, what exactly are the advantages of a strong media presence, and are we turning into a pressure group? So Ian, the reason that we're looking for a strong media presence, or at least get ourselves more well known in the media, is for two reasons. One is because we want to encourage more and more people to join the U3A. And why do we want to do that? We want to do that because we know that the U3A is an absolutely fantastic example of people coming together to do great things, enjoy life, and meet friends, and form communities locally. And that is something that's not easily achieved in our communities today. It's quite difficult to go out and meet new people. There's a link at which to, or door, or a community of people that offers that. The U3A does offer that. And what the other thing it offers the opportunity to look at retirement as a real positive event when you actually try out lots of new activities, follow lots of new interests, do things that you maybe have always wanted to do, always wanted to try, or even try some things you may never have thought you were going to do. And what we want to do is push that message out there that actually retirement is a time of opportunity. It isn't a time of that's often portrayed in the media, a time when actually other people do things for you. And we want to really push that U3A message so more and more people have the opportunity of joining the U3A communities up and down the United Kingdom. Do you want to add anything to that, Ian?
Yes, just a couple of points. Thanks, Sam. Dealing with your last point first, Ian, are we turning into a pressure group? Well, the answer is no, and we can't, because our we have to stay with our charitable objectives, which is, as you all know, the continuation of learning into the third age of life. So we are prohibited by our charitable objectives from becoming a pressure group. Just to add to what Sam has said, what are the advantages of a strong media presence? Well, as I mentioned earlier, the movement has grown for over 40 years through essentially word of mouth. We haven't really publicised ourselves very much. We're a bit of a secret society to a lot of people. I think that has to change now. COVID does have a big impact on the membership profile of the movement, the renewals, etc. And we have done a number of things over the last few months. All of you will know about the way we've rebranded ourselves and the way that we're trying to assist U3As to face the end of lockdown. And I think it's absolutely essential that we raise our profile in as many areas as possible. I mean, all of us, particularly in the last 15 years, have woken up in the morning, and suddenly we found that institutions that are very familiar to us have disappeared. They've gone into administration, and one of the reasons for this is that they have failed to adapt to the new circumstances. We book our holidays very differently now. We read newspapers, a lot of us, very differently now. We shop very differently now. Society is moving very, very quickly. And the movement has got to move with it. We have a wonderful story to tell, as Sam says, but we can't be oblivious to the fact that we do just have to move with the times a bit and try and raise our profile so that some of the 10 million people in our age group can learn about U3A and benefit from what it offers.
Thank you, Ian. The next comment is from Carmel Burton. Tetbury District held a very successful AGM via Zoom, which included voting. We would be very happy to share our experience with other U3As. Thank you for that, Carmel. That's absolutely great. And Alison May and Jane Bailey from the Trust will be in touch with you to get that information and to share it. So thank you very much. Clive Edgington next says, at our last Stroud U3A AGM, we had 81 voting forms completed, but only 21 people attending the online meeting, which suggests that what we need in future is a hybrid online postal system. Do you agree? Yes, Clive. What we have also is is wording that allows for postal voting and proxy voting, and that also will be going out to U3As along with online voting activity. Ian, do you want to add to that?
No, that's fine, Sam.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So the next comment was from Roy Evans. Roy said, the signal went down here. Can you tell us again the result of the vote? So the result of the vote is for the resolution, 1,112 votes, which were 99.82% of everyone that voted. Against, 2 votes, which are 0.18% of everyone that voted, and of all the votes cast, rather, I should have said. And finally, 3 abstentions. The next question is from Janice Leach. Janice says, a lot of members don't use technology and are afraid of Facebook, Zoom, etc. Is there going to be any help to address this problem at a local level? Do you want to start, Ian?
No. I think if you just cover what your staff are doing in that area, Sam.
Okay, thank you. So yes, absolutely, Jan. What we're doing at the moment is collecting examples of practice where U3As are indeed actually going out to work with people at U3A members at a local level. We're really conscious of the fact that for some, online meetings and social media will never be the answer, because either they're unable to use it or they have serious concerns about using it. We absolutely understand that. We're looking into various models of telephone communication, and I know that there are some really good models that are out there at the moment, so we're looking into that. There are examples coming through some of the working groups in the Trust of ideas such as pen pals, phone friends. There are newsletters, as I say, paper newsletters that people are putting through doors, phone trees, and so on. So absolutely, in this period of time where face-to-face meetings are challenging, and in fact at the moment virtually impossible, we are looking at all of those methods of including people who are not able to use technology, and some of those will continue for those members and U3As that find them useful face is able to happen in a very fulsome way in future. The next question is, will Site Builder be rebranded? And absolutely, yes, I believe it is possible to draw down our branding at the moment, the Youth branding, new branding for Site Builder. And Carmel, if you contact Ian or myself, sam.morga@u3a.org.uk, I can put you in touch with the relevant lead in the trust who can give you advice about that. Then we have Errol Fabian, and Errol says, not a question but a suggestion in case it has not been considered. What about an article in the Civil Service Pensioners magazine? Errol, very good point, one that we'll take note of, and I believe we do have some contact with the Civil Service Pensioners Association, so we will indeed follow that up. Thank you very much for that comment. David Bell, the latest graphic on COVID government requirements is very clear, well done. Thank you, David. I'll pass that on to Jane Bailey, who did a huge amount of work in relation to that. So thank you very much for that. We appreciate that comment. And the final comment from Julie Beattie. There have been some excellent questions and answers in this section. May we have a summary of them afterwards, please? Thank you. And certainly Ian and I will look at all of these and recall what we said to each answer, and we will pull them together as following this meeting. Ian, have you got anything else you want to add?
No, thank you very much, Sam. I think that's been a very useful exercise. I have to say we seem to have gone from the sublime to the ridiculous, because in September we had an AGM which was about 3 hours, and we've had an EGM which was 20 minutes. But we followed it up with the presentation, and what is always more interesting than the actual presentation is the questions that result from it. So thank you very much to all of you out there. I can't see you, unfortunately. Sam can't see you, but thank you very much for those questions. And as Sam says, we will provide you, as we did after the AGM questions, with a detailed written response. So all that remains is for Sam and I to wish you all the best for the coming festive season. And in the immortal words of the two Ronnies, it is goodbye from me and goodbye from
her.
Thank you very much indeed. All the best. Bye-bye.
Bye.